Mashaba, and welcome to this podcast series of the Small Business Institute. This is a third in the run-up to the elections. Just to kick us off, could you please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then tell us a little bit about ActionSA, and then we'll get into the conversation about how to fix the economy and how to make South Africa work, and how to ensure that small businesses contribute their fair share in job creation and economic growth. Over to you, Mr. Mashaba.
Thank you very much. Yes, as you are aware, I'm Herman Mashaba, 64-year-old senior member of the country. Someone who's supposed to be right now talking to you, supposed to be at SASA offices, queuing for Cyril Ramaphosa 350 because I qualified to get it. Unfortunately, because of my love for my country, I've taken this brutal job to see how we can democratically remove this uncaring, corrupt, unpatriotic ANC government that has destroyed particularly Black entrepreneurship since 1994. I'm a capitalist by nature, and it's in my DNA. I went into business at the age of 22. By the time I reached 24, I opened my own cosmetic manufacturing business in the Farangua industrial area in a 200 square meter factory. By the time I reached 30, I owned my own factory. I did not owe anyone a cent, 6,000 square meter state-of-the-art factory. Producing products, supplying these products throughout Southern Africa. And when ANC was unbanned, and 1994, I voted for Nelson Mandela. I mean, I'm proud of that decision. And I voted for Thabo Mbeki in 1999. But during Thabo Mbeki's era, after the exit of Mandela, I then realized that this ANC is not a political organization. It's a criminal enterprise involved in communist ideologies, focus on actually stealing public monies. That these are people who are not in politics to serve society. They were there to serve their own stomachs and their own families, determined to keep Black people poor and uneducated. And here we are 30 years later. They have, to some extent, succeeded, because they've now rendered South Africa with the highest sustainable unemployment rate in the world. They have subjected to South Africa's education system to be the worst in terms of outcome. They have unleashed the murderers to murder you and I in South Africa. We have a chance of being murdered in South Africa than anywhere in the world. We live in a country where 86 of us are being murdered each day. And these are recorded cases. You and I live in a country where our women, wives, our daughters, our sisters, our neighbors, women, every 11 minutes, every one of them is raped. We live in a country where they've opened our borders to bring in international drug cartels to come and destroy the lives of our youth, disrupt our families and our way of life. But fortunate enough, some of us have taken a decision to use our privileged position to challenge this and expose this. And I think for me in particular, small business, that's something that you said you're interested in. And it's something that, without any doubt, got me to be interested in politics, because in 1994, when I voted for Nelson Mandela, I expected to see an explosion of Black entrepreneurship, because some of us started business during the dark days of our country's history, when the National Party did everything possible to make us fail. But some of us defied them. And we expected the new democratic government to unleash that potential. And actually, it's actually quite sad that this democratic government, working with the Communist Party, working with the unions, they've destroyed black the talent and in entrepreneurship. What do we intend doing as ActionSA if people give us the mandate to really be in government? The first thing that one needs to do is to bring back the rule of law, because one thing that I've realized, and I've studied successful nations, and you look at why some countries make it and some fail. The rule of law is one of the key components in creating prosperity. You cannot really have an effective economy in an environment of chaos. So we need specialized units to deal with cases of corruption by politicians and business people. We need to have specialized units to deal with these murderers. We need specialized units to deal with cases of GBV. We need specialized units to deal with international crime, the criminal syndicates, particularly the drug lords, because drug lords, they don't only destroy our youth, they destroy families and they destroy nations. So that's very important as a starting point. We need to relax our draconian law, what are called draconian laws, to allow SMMEs to operate without being subjected to these draconian laws, making it difficult for them to operate. Because if you look at our labor laws at the moment in South Africa, if you don't have top labor laws, you've got huge challenges through the CCMAs run by COSATU people, where you are found guilty before you go to court. Someone, you open a shop in the township or whatever, you don't have top legal people. When someone takes you to the CCMA, you're already found guilty. Whether this person violated, they stole from you, they don't really care. They will tell you about processes. That's why this laws favors big business and big trade unions. And I think the reason why they favor big business, because big business fell into this Black Economic Empowerment of the ANC, this triple BEE, where most of them, they've got ANC people as and their wives as shareholders. So they are protected. But over and above that, they have top labor experts to defend them in this court. We need to really focus on education. You cannot build an economy, build entrepreneurship when people don't actually understand what an income statement is, what a balance sheet is, and so forth. So you need strong education. We need to invest in technical colleges where we can have plumbers, electricians, we can have nurses, we have teachers, and so forth. These are areas that I believe, you know, when to build an economy, you can't do one thing. That's why government, you have different ministries. And as a ActionSA, we've committed to have maximum of 20 ministers, and all the ministers must immediately hit the ground running and work in concert because they complement each other in terms of ensuring that you can really drive your economy. We need to reopen all these billions or trillions of factories closed down by this tripartite alliance of the ANC. Babelech industrial area in Amaskral, where I was raised and I was born and raised. Karankua industrial area, where I started Black Rugby in 1985. Factories in Kwandebele, in Mohwasi, in Kotwa, in Mthatha. These factories are closed. I mean, we have got to be a nation of fools when we are sitting with such new factories where ANC has closed them down because ANC wants black people to be poor and dependent on the state. So we need Department of Trade and Industry working with the other agencies to, as a matter of agency, open these factories. More also importantly, we need to recognize that South Africa was built at the back of migrants. However, we cannot have a country without borders. South Africa is a sovereign country like any country in the world. We recognize that this country was built at the back of migrants, and we need to continue inviting people of the world to come here to bring the skills, to come here on holiday and so forth. But they must come here legally, and when they are here, to respect our laws. South Africa cannot afford, when we have 12 million of our own people unemployed, where we allow failed states to outsource their problems to us. So we need to control, make it easy for legal immigrants to come to our country, but close our factory for, our borders for those who are bringing criminality in our country. This, I think, to just give you an overview of how we strongly believe, I personally believe, that this country, it's possible to be turned around, but it can really be turned around if Black people on the 29th of May, that is next week, Wednesday, they vote this ANC government out and vote for ActionSA, the party that is actually committed, also very important, to a non-racial South Africa. Because for us as ActionSA, we are unapologetic. We believe very strongly that the only way we can build the economy of this country, all of us South Africans, we've got to be South Africans first before I can be Black, someone is white, colored, and Indians. We must all be South Africans. How God created us, this must be secondary. We need to drive South Africans behind one flag. For us as ActionSA, we will repeal with immediate effect in every aspect of race-based legislation. All of us must be South Africans. However, we recognize that we need redress for Black people who were oppressed for many years. But we created by not creating a situation where you divide your nation along racial lines. We have what we call an inclusive economic empowerment, where big business must contribute 5% of their profits to our what we call an opportunity fund. This opportunity fund must be used as a matter of agency to go and build more schools in the Black communities, because the schools there are dysfunctional. ANC government has never built enough schools. We go and build infrastructure in those schools. We fund Black entrepreneurs, give them favorable terms better than the banks to really kickstart, because as ActionSA, all these foreign nationals running businesses in our communities who are in this country legally, we're going to get them out, send them back where they came from. And obviously, there'll be huge opportunity for Black entrepreneurs in their communities to run these businesses. And as business, we must actually fund them so that we give them a head start. I think this just gives you a sense. I can talk to you for 2 days nonstop.
No, we are doing very well, Mr. Mashaba. I think you've answered quite a few of my questions. Let me ask you a very specific questions before we get into the small business problems. You are talking about 20 ministries maximum. Would you keep the small business development ministry?
With no deputies.
With no deputies. Oh, thank you. Perfect. Would you keep the small business ministry in your administration?
That one it'll be the first one to be killed, to be closed down. We don't need a minister of small business. Department of Trade and Industry can deal with small business within that ministry. We don't need a minister of small business.
Thank you very much. And then let's come to the economy. I think you've spelled a vision very clearly: rule of law, education. But we can't have a small business segment of the economy that thrives when the rest of the economy is failing. How do you plan to fix the rest of the economy?
So remember, indicated to you to deal with the rest of the economy, you need the rule of law. You need to reopen these factories where you give massive incentives to big businesses to go and reopen these factories in Babelech, in Harangu, and Muhwasi, in other places in the country. Make it easy for us as ActionSA. We've been very clear. No union will have a veto right on our economic policies. We will have a red carpet for businesses to employ our people. Unlike right now, where you have the Minister of Trade and Industry, the last 4 or 5 ministers, they come from the so-called Communist Party. But Communist Party that claim to hate the business, but they like the fruits of the capitalist system. They've developed a very, very expensive taste. People are used to know when, because I'm 64, so you can imagine I lived 34 years of my life under the evil system of apartheid, growing up with some of these people who 34 years ago, they had nothing. And today, I can tell you, they've developed the most expensive taste, be whiskeys or clothes and fly business, first class, not even business class. They've developed a taste that us capitalists cannot even really afford. And I'm not a poor person, but because I worked hard for my money over the last 40 years, when I go and buy a bottle of wine, and the first thing I check is the price. Not that I'll go for the cheapest, but I check for the price. But I used to go out with this communist in the past. They will drink anything you give them. Today, you go out with this communist. When they look for a bottle of wine, they look for the price, whereas they look for the most expensive. You know, these people are, but at the same time, South Africa is the most unequal society in the world. 54% of our people live below the breadline as a result of the so-called communists with very expensive taste. They don't care about poor people.
One of the biggest problems is the state's capacity to implement anything has been hollowed out. How do you plan to fix that?
Well, I think you immediately what you do, like I did when I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg over 3 years. When I took over as a mayor, within 2 weeks, I announced the conducting a skills audit, because I realized the majority of senior people were all senior ANC people who were in jobs not because of what they know. They were in position because of what they knew. So what is important as we take over, we have to, as a matter of urgency, to introduce a skills audit and the lifestyle audit, so that we take out corrupt people, we take out inept bureaucrats, put in professional people. That's why for us as ActionSA, when we do appointment, we are not going to do appointments on the basis of race or anything else. We are going to do our appointments based on merit. We are going to be a party. We are a party focused on merit of individuals, not the color of someone's skin or the proximity of people to political parties.
One of the biggest problems that are killing small businesses in South Africa is the late payment or non-payment. We ran a campaign with Business Unity South Africa and Business Leadership South Africa 2 years ago, and we managed to get 50 CEOs, more than 50 CEOs of listed companies to commit to paying SMEs on time. On time means within 30 days. It's not happening in government, and government was not part of this pledge. How would you fix that?
Well, it's very easy. If you run a professional public service, merit-based, people will obviously have an understanding that if you have a creditor, you've got to pay your creditors and pay them on time. And you've got to collect your revenue. If you've got debtors and you provide services to people, people must pay you so that you are able to pay your creditors. That's why you need the professional people who understand an income statement, understand the balance sheet, and understand that by not paying people on time, you don't pay your creditors on time, you don't collect the money, you're going to go out of business. Because right now, why municipalities are suffering, because majority of bureaucrats, they just don't understand the simple business system that you need to collect money when people owe you. Charge for services, people must pay you. But at the same time, you have to pay your creditors, because if you don't pay your creditors on time, you're going to put them into trouble. And what will happen? You will be the one ultimately failing, because if you take businesses out that provide you with essential services, you're gonna fail. Because let's say if I have someone providing a specific service to government, and I don't pay them on time and they go out, who's going to suffer? The residents of the city or the country are the ones who are going to suffer. So that's why you need a professional public service. But we can only do that also by ensuring that we deal with corruption, because today it's not just late payment. Some people actually, those who are involved in corruption, they actually get money upfront. They give a guy 300 to 1.5 billion rands to go and build a road. They give him money upfront before he starts building. Someone who's never built a road in his life. The guy operating from a cell phone because it's politically to connect that he gets the money, and he doesn't really build. So these are the challenges that are easy to solve, but they will need strong leadership, but they will need leadership that is not yet for friendship, because I have declared I'm not in this business to make friends with anyone. I don't need friends. I don't need anyone to cover for me, because I'm not going to cover for anyone for nonsense. So I think but at the same time, South Africans know I value friendship. Friendship is very important, but it must be a kind of friendship based on doing the right thing. Unfortunately, today in our country, it's a buddy-buddy kind of corrupt relationship, and that's something that got me into politics to do this brutal job. But rewarding, because this is my country. That's the only country in the world I was born and lived in, and I'm not really prepared to go anywhere else when I still have an opportunity to can save it.
It is a beautiful country, Mr. Mashaba, and the sooner we fix it, the better for all of us. Just before we sort of wrap up, and I'll ask you when we wrap up to sort of reinforce the message of what ActionSA is offering to South African voters next week and beyond in the next 5 years as an administration. I'd like to ask you about the most important sphere of government, which has collapsed now, the local government. It's just a falling knife. You are no longer in local government. You are no longer the mayor of Johannesburg, but surely you must have a vision of how to fix this important sphere of government. When business invests, it does not invest in Pretoria. It does not invest in national government. It invests at a local sphere of government. And you spoke about rolling out red carpet for small businesses and all businesses to thrive. So let me ask you, how will you fix this very important sphere of government where 90% of municipalities cannot file a clean audit?
Well, the thing is, if you look at people in municipalities, particularly the ones from the ruling party, I guess 80% plus of them cannot even read and write and understand reading council reports. And council reports are very important, because council reports are the ones determining the kind of services that you must provide. Most of these people, I remember when I was mayor of the city of Johannesburg, they used to give us tons and tons of papers to really go through in an era where we provide them with laptops. Now what happens before council meeting, it takes 3 to 4 days for the city to deliver to 270 councillors, when we can actually send you there's reports electronically. 80% of ANC people didn't really know how to open a laptop, but they were given a laptop. And over and above that, if you look at the new council, the new council in the city of Johannesburg, you don't even have to bring your laptop on the day of council. The system is there. But because they don't understand this, because they took people who were running shebeens and popular people who can dance in the community to mobilize people who are put in as councillors. So 80 or 90, up to 90% of them can't really read council reports. That's why councillors or councils throughout the country are dysfunctional, because majority of them are still run by the ANC. But this problem, John, can really be solved by black voters, because without black voter support, no one can have majority in this country. ANC is surviving because of the black voters who are now heartful of ANC. They're not coming out to vote because they don't understand democracy. They think by not voting, they're punishing the ANC. So we need the 27.7 million South Africans to come out in the numbers to vote and vote this corrupt, unpatriotic and uncaring ANC government out, so that we can put in professional people. Because for us as ActionSA, when we recommend someone to be a councillor or an MPL or a member of parliament, unfortunately, you go through a rigorous process of ensuring that you understand how to read and write. We test you whether you understand what is the income statement, what is the balance sheet. Do you understand the legislative framework that governs municipalities, that governs provinces, that governs national government? We take them through such obviously we teach them, we run classes over time, but people are ultimately subjected to test. We are not going to take anyone to parliament who does not really understand how parliament works. We're not going to take you because you managed to get us the voters. It cannot work like that. We'll find a way to accommodate you somewhere in political offices, but ultimately people must look at ActionSA as a vehicle to create an equal opportunity for everyone. You might not really be in government, to be a councillor or whatever. But if you have a government that can ensure that if you live in Amanskral, Babelech industrial area operates, or you live in the city of Johannesburg, all these hijacked buildings and shops are open. You can be entrepreneurs, you can work for someone else. We create opportunities for everyone. So that's what we get our actioners to understand their role. That it's not about being in public office, because we cannot afford to replace ANC tendencies with bringing in the same tendencies. We're not going to put you in parliament because you are the biggest dancer in the community. People know you, you are popular, you can mobilize us to get the votes. No, it doesn't work like that. Absolutely, we appreciate. We don't ignore or take for granted the role that you, critical role that you are playing. But we are not going to put you in a position that is going to compromise the entire country.
Thank you, Mr. Mashaba, and thank you very much for asking everyone to go out and vote on the 29th of May, because that's what makes our democracy work. Now, I'm going to give you 4 minutes to wrap it up for us. Pitch the message again. Your logo says, let's fix South Africa. You've spoken about education, you've spoken about jobs, you've spoken about rule of law, you've spoken about rolling out the red carpet treatment. Let us just remind the voters what ActionSA stands for.
No, thank you very much. I think I want South Africans to really understand and why it's important for them to vote for ActionSA. ActionSA, it's a party founded from a rigorous process called the People's Dialogue, where we were given the mandate by 2.4 million South Africans to start this political party, which was launched on the 29th of August 2020. We contested in our first elections during the 2021 local government elections, contesting only 6 municipalities out of 278, emerging as the 6th biggest political party nationwide, emerging as the 4th biggest party in Gauteng, emerging as the 3rd biggest party in Johannesburg with 44 councillors, councillors. So we're not a small party. And what makes us unique as a political party? It's because of our core values, the core values of a non-racial South Africa. We were clear from day one, and we are still clear right now to say, if you are looking for a racial party, go somewhere else. Don't waste our time, because we don't want to waste yours. We want to build a non-racial South Africa, because all of us, we are the creation of God. God created us in His image. And as ActionSA, we encourage all our members to coexist with others, whether male, female, black, white, Indian. We are all South Africans first before we can be anything else. We're the party that believes in the rule of law, as I've outlined to you. We're the party that believes very strongly in social justice. We don't want to live side by side with poverty. We believe as a party, we have an obligation to uplift poor people, take them out of poverty. We're not the party that says we must all be poor. No, South Africa, it's a rich country. We want to create equal opportunities, not equal outcome. We believe we've got to do everything possible to take people out of poverty. And you take people out of poverty by allowing the private sector to create a conducive commercial environment where the economy can grow at between 5 and 10% within the next few years. I've obviously touched on education and the rule of law, and also very important, ethical leadership. When you join ActionSA, please, you've got to commit. It's part of being a member of ActionSA. You commit to ethical leadership. We want a society that believes in God, that does not only fear guns. We want people with morals that would obviously really shape them in their future. And that's who we are. We don't stand on the fence on things that are dear and close to us. We're the party that is committed, and this is also very important that I must not leave out, that ActionSA will not go into a coalition with the ANC. And the reason why ActionSA will not go into a coalition with the ANC, because we have concluded and accepted that ANC is a criminal enterprise, and therefore we cannot be associated with a criminal enterprise. We'll work with other parties. We'll not work with the EFF at national level, because EFF policies are very far away from us. We cannot work with a party that believes that my house must belong to the state, and we must change our constitution where we have expropriation of land without compensation. The fundamental core value of a successful economy is property rights. We believe property rights are key in the development of any nation. So we don't really believe in communism. We don't believe in equal outcomes. We believe in equal opportunities.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mashaba. We've come to the end of this series, and thank you for making time for us and taking time off the campaign trail. We wish you all the best for next Wednesday. Stay safe. We'll share the podcast with you. You are free to post it on your website